So I will show you like quick demo of two scrapping techniques. So one we will use just plain Jupyter notebook with beautiful soup. And second, I will just show how to do pretty much same use case but using Scrappy framework. And just try to describe what's the difference and what's the benefits of using different methods. So in terms of dependencies, usually you just need a few libraries. What I installed is, I will put it as a related on the README doc to the Git as well, but basically, so as easy as this, you just install conda with Jupyter requests, beautiful soup, LXML and Scrappy. That's all we need. So a couple words about LXML. It's a kind of extra parser which is can be used by Beautiful Soup as well as Scrappy. It just works much faster than standard version and also allows you to parse broken HTML, like when tags are not perfect. It will autocomplete tags and try to fix the document because sometimes documents are messy from real websites. So as soon as you install it, just kind of we can start. I have prepared this notebook, so we can go straight. The easiest method to scrape some website, you can just make a request, get a HTML document, and try to parse it. So you can use standard Python URL lib for that, but it's not very human friendly, I would say. So therefore, usually I use request library. It's very handy to make requests, and it also very useful when you need not only just to download web page, but if you need to submit some forms, like make post requests, including some parameters, or manipulate with headers, cookies, and so on. A request library just works much better. Also has built-in retries, mechanisms, and so on. So just works more stable. So when you start, usually you import Beautiful Soup like this. Like you just BS4 is name of the module, and Beautiful Soup is the main class we use. Here I will show just this is very plain example how to make a request with some error handling. You need to do your error handling when you're working with real websites. Internet may go down, your attempts to scrape website can get banned and you will start getting errors, or you may bring some website down suddenly. So you need to handle exceptions basically, and as well you need to check status code. So when you get a web page from the internet, usually you return, like web server returns some status code, was it successful or not. So most popular 404, which just means page and file, or 500 internal server error. In our case, we hope the status code will be 200, which is okay, and it means you can proceed and parse the body of the request. So that's the example. We got status code 200, content type is text, HTML, and then you get some web page. That's a sample web page. So the very standard method to start parsing, you just do it like this. So we have HTML variable assigned to text of the request, and you just initialize Beautiful Soup with it. Sorry. And here you have to pass name of the variable which contains the body of your document and specify parser. So here I'm using standard Python 3 parser, which is HTML parser. That's a kind of default one available everywhere. And then once you parse it, you can access this document as an object. So for example, you saw here the very first tag is HTML. So if you, let me just remove this now. So if we are interested in what's in what is BS HTML, it will give you a whole body of the document. Then you can say that I just need a head. Just specify head, run it, and you've got just head. So then you can narrow down, and I want to have title, run it, you have title, and so on. So the one beautiful thing about Beautiful Soup is that by default it gives you ability to work not with direct children of the tree object of a page, but you can work with descendants. So what it means, I can remove this head and title and just say I need first title in this object, and it will return me totally same result. So you don't have to specify all the path to the bottom of the object you need. You can just specify its name and it will find first one among all descendants.
Did first search or brought first?
It's recursive. It's recursive, therefore order is not guaranteed there. So I'm not quite sure.
Order is not guaranteed.
You can actually, like, there is a method, like, there is another alternative way of doing that by using find method. I'll show you later. There you can control, you want just search through children, direct children of some specified tag, or you want to traverse recursively. But basically, in this example, like with all the sprints uncommented, so all these ways returns you totally the same result. So instead of doing long, instead of specifying whole path, you can just specify bs.h1 and it will return you first h1 tag in the HTML document. You can also print HTML document in a form of tree, so you can see where are the children, where are the parents, and where are the siblings of the same within the same tag. Beautiful Soap gives you ability to navigate through this tree using various ways. So first of all, you can specify the whole path to the object and it will give it to you. Second way, you can search, so you can specify find statements. The next one is also you have ability to navigate using relationships. So you can find the parent of an object, or you can find all children of an object. You can find previous siblings, next siblings, so you can traverse the tree in different ways. Okay, so let's do. Okay, I have created a function which is returning text of a given URL from the code above. It's totally the same. Now we will try to get some real data taken from this website. This was an example provided by I have to Maciej. Yeah, this is quite a good example, by the way.
Thank you.
This site it's a blog actually, and it contains like lots of receipts. Sorry, just to go to some. They need to zoom out. Yeah, it's a mobile version. So that's how it looks like. So it's a website with some catalog, right, where you can see different dishes, and you can load more, which is a bit long list. You have lots of filters. If you go inside, you get a recipe, and here are ingredients. Cool. So that's the data we need. So how to get to it? So first, let's try to parse this page with all the recipes. So we run it, and that's an example. So here I already use XML as an alternative, just as it's like a rather standard to use XML nowadays. to this beautiful
Do you need
soup.
to import that to use it here? I don't think so.
No, you don't have to import. And here is the key command I'm doing here. So probably let me start from the beginning. So find all is a method where you can specify I want to find something on the page, and you can specify a tag you want to find. And that's the most common usage of this function actually, to find all links on this web page. So we are looking for tag A. Tag A is basically a link. So if you run it, you will get an array of links, like all links on the page. But that will be whole tag. What we need to extract actual link, which is stored in href attribute. So in order to do so, you can just run a simple loop and like this, where you're just saying I want to get an href attribute from it. So you run it and you get a very good list of all links on the page.
So get removes the tags, just give you the content.
It gives me, you have to provide what attributes you want, what attribute you want to get from the tag. So each ref attribute contains the link. If you want to get text, it's different. There is get text function, which is separate. Each ref is attributed. That's for links. So here you probably may already spot that this list contains not everything we may need, and it contains duplicates as well. So like some pages listed several times. There is this kind of link, which is if you attempt to query it, you will fail, which is like on the web page, it's just same page and probably some JavaScript attached to it. But yeah, there are lots of links, some of them useful for us, some of them not. So let's try to do something with them. So the very first recommendation when you're doing something like this is to deduplicate the list. So you just convert it to set. So it's totally same code, it's just list comprehension right now. So we are building whole list of URLs with same for loop and converting it to set. So, and if you compare, so yeah, like the original list was 669 items and set, reduce it down to 631 at least. Okay, so let's now go a little bit deeper. So you need to handle also exceptions when you're working with Beautiful Soup, because, for example, tag you're looking or may not be on the page, and you will get exception or non-object as a result. So that's an example, like if you specify this non-existing tag and some another tag, instead of something useful, you will get an exception. So tag wasn't found. If you change it to some existing, like in this case, that's another example. Instead of attribute error, you will get non-object. That also means the tag not found. So you need to handle two situations. You may get exception, but you may get non-object. You always have to think about it. It's quite often it's quite useful just to wrap all this as a function, which will do all the validation for you, so your code won't fail. You will not have exceptions. And actually, this kind of methods of navigating the Beautiful Soup is going to be deprecated probably in the next big version. So instead of that, it's a general recommendation to use find function. So it works totally the same. You just specify find and specify name of the tag you're looking for. In this case, if object will not be found, you will always be getting attribute error. It's kind of, and you don't have to handle non-objects, which is easier.
So, and you can chain it, right?
Yeah, you can chain it. It's work as a so this find function works as a selector. So it selects some object within your smaller object within your bigger object, and then you can narrow down and perform search again and again. Depends how you want to parse the page. Few words about how to find something useful on the page. There are different methods. Most classic methods, even using Beautiful Soap, is to use either to use CSS selector. I just want to how to hide it. So if you're using Chrome browser, I hope most of you do, and I believe in most of the other browsers there is similar functionality. You can right click on some item on the web page and choose inspect, which will open you something like developer console, which will present you with HTML structure and highlighted object on this page. I'm trying to fit everything, but yeah, you can see that when I'm covering this picture, then this area is highlighted, showing that it's here. I cannot make it nicer right now because my screen is crazy. Okay, sorry. So we can see here in the structure that all receipts created as div tags with class receipt, which is giving us a great hint how we can find all receipts on the page of the on the catalog. What Beautiful Soap gives us, you can say I want to search for this tag div, and you can specify some sort of filter that I want to have class attribute to be equal to receipt. So you're just passing an object saying which properties you're looking for. And if you run it, so instead of like 200 links on the web page, you will get just 12 objects, which were originally presented on the web page. So now, as you have these receipts extracted, you may want to extract links to these receipts because you want to go deeper. So you just, as I showed before, you just say I want to go deeper to div, go to a tag and find a link to it. So here it's an example. So that's our div object found by Beautiful Soap. That's a nested div object inside, and within this nested object we have a link to the whole receipt inside. That's the way you can first you find all bigger containers which may contain something interesting to you, and then go a little bit deeper and extract needed information. So when you run it, you just get 12 links which goes exactly to the receipt specified on the first page. So with this, this is great, but website contains lots of receipts, right? So we need to find a way how to load more. In this case, it's pretty much the same approach. Let me try to kill it. So on the bottom of this page, we can see that there is button. Cool, so let's inspect again. So you go inspect and see that this is a button which also a link, and it contains a link to the next page, right? So what we can do totally the same as we did. So here we have class, which is button load more, obviously. So what we go do, we are trying to find div with class button load more, find a link in it, and get actual link. So if you do it, we get a link to next page, right? If you repeat this process multiple times, we will get all the pages with all the receipts. So here is an example. I just wrap it in the functions and loops. So we are starting from this, from the root web page. We are parsing HTML page into Beautiful object, getting all receipts, which was same list comprehension I used above. getting all receipts from the catalog, then adding them to the bigger list of receipts, and finding next link and iterate through it. So here is an example with 10 iterations. So you just run it and you see it's like discovered 12 receipts, discovered 12 receipts. So in total it discovered 120 receipts. So now you can remove this limit, get all the links to all the receipts, right? Next stage we need to do something with them. So what we do, we can just iterate through the list of receipts and extract information about ingredients from it. So that's how this list looks. Just everything you like. I don't know, ratatouille. Very funny names. Sernik, spaghetti, tatar. Lots of zupa as well. I took one. Probably I liked. It was better than actually very nice receipt. And basically I'm querying it and parsing it, which is straightforward. So I got the object, and next we need to find ingredients. So how I did it. So let's say I click it where it is. Well, that's the one. I will close it for now. So that's how it looks. And here we have all the list of ingredients. So now we need to find a way to extract them. Actually, I've been puzzled a little bit with this website because of the way how the information is structured, but we will have some shortcuts. So if you use again inspect and try to find something, some hints how to find on any page, you will find that there is this div which is saying what to buy, right? And on each and every page you will be saying div object again. So and within this div object you have this list which contains all the ingredients including quantity. So it says 300 grams drobny cukru. What's the difference between drobny and łyżka, jedna łyżka soku z cytryny, and so on. But there is a caveat in this list, which I was trying to avoid. Sometimes it contains some sort of heading of some part of the dish, like beza, as list of ingredients, and then we have crème list of ingredients, right? So it contains from two things. And we need to exclude them somehow because they may spoil data. So here is a just quick example. Let's search for, because each actually line with ingredient contains this tag called with class quantity. So only such things are interesting for us, and those headings don't have them. So that was my idea how to, let's say, extract only those which are meaningful for us. So I just say beautiful soap find span tag with class quantity, and here I use this children parent reversal. So I say for each ingredient I want to go to parent object and then print it, because I want to include not only quantity but also what's the name of it. So if you run it, you just get totally the same stuff. 6 bell eggs, 300 grams cukru, so on.
Can you show it again in Chrome?
Yeah.
So what do you find and what's the parent?
Okay, so I was searching for this span with class quantity, and his parent, this span,
and that's
contains the whole description.
Okay.
So this way I have excluded these headers, because maybe I don't need them. Maybe we need them, that's another story. Maybe we can improve parsing and have this parse of the dish and so on. But for simplification I just made it. But that's an example when you, for example, when for you it's useful to use some as parent or children or sibling relationships. There is a separate big set of methods which are connected to siblings navigation, and it's often used for tables, like for example the tables on this results of voting. So we have a table with a heading, and usually headers are very easy to identify on an HTML page. So you search for a header or title of the column, and then just use next sibling, next sibling, next sibling to go through all the rows in the table. Again, you just have to iterate through it. Yeah, I was trying to extract these titles using this way, like this one, better. So I was doing same, like searching for class quantity, then choosing very first element, then go parent, previous sibling, previous sibling. You can do this way. You can chain through the document, and eventually you get this. Better. But it was not easy, and kind of this method is not nice. I mean, probably you can find better ways. And better ways quite often connected with another way of selecting objects on the page, which is called XPath. With XPath it would be easier. But the thing about Beautiful Soup, it doesn't support XPath. So XPath is not supported.
The problem with XPath is that the structure of page tends to change. Yes, and they are not resilient to that.
Correct.
The CSS is sometimes better choice because
I had an
the
example.
class, yeah.
I had an examples here where is it? The beginning. Yeah, so that's an example of CSS selector for some object. That's an example of XPath. That's a very bad example because it's main div second, div first, and so on. It's very bad because if site structure a little bit redesigned or changed, you'll break. But the main thing about XPath, you have to be like mindful. And if you want to use such XPath, it's probably doing something wrong. So XPath also has methods to get relative. It can be relative. It can use similar find functionality where you specify just a class of an object you want and just narrow down your search. And sometimes these methods completely could be not applicable because site structure may be very bad. I don't know, programmers were lazy, there are no class, no ID in tags and so on, and it would be very painful to parse it, and if it also dynamically changes. Sometimes methods like we have used for statistics, or for voting statistics, like find a print version of the page, try to find an API call, and so on, works better, because if you get a PDF version or print version with simplified layout, it's quite unlikely that it will change. Because it's also, you can also query web pages for print version, not for regular version, but for printer. And it's also sometimes easier to parse.
So what's the print version?
So you go to web page, quite like some website may have it, and press Command P, right? And you see print version. It's different.
Which might simplify. Does it have a structure like HTML?
Yes, it's also HTML document, but it's just simplified for printers. Yeah, some websites offer it, some don't.
How can you request that from Python, from request?
I'm not sure, but I've read that it's possible.
Okay.
Probably you Google it.
Okay, well, that's
Google says it's possible.
Yeah, it must be. I probably it's like a header or.
Well, anyway,
you
it
have to
sends
pass.
some sort of a request and got it in return, so for sure it's doable.
Yes,
And we could send the same type of request, maybe we can sniff it.
correct.
Sometimes it's only the CSS manipulation.
Whatever, but anyway, we send some sort of a request from the web browser.
Yeah,
It's
I
only
mean,
the
even if
CSS
it's,
manipulation, then you have the same HTML,
Mm.
but the layout is changed only on the CSS.
yeah,
but
but the
but-
CSS selectors are easier, for example.
But then you say it's done on the server side, or
It's on the browser side.
but it's because the CSS is different.
Okay, so let me explain because I work with this. When you hit print button, it doesn't load the new website in the print version. It's exactly the same version with the same divs and the same classes. Everything is inside the HTML code is the same. The thing that changes is the CSS file which is used,
Mm.
or the part of CSS file which is used, because regular CSS file has information that this CSS file is for screen, and another CSS file has information that this is print CSS version. So the structure is completely the
So we
same.
get the same data from the server.
Yeah, it's the same website. It's completely the same website, but the CSS used for the site is different. So the structure is not changed. We will have to use the same selectors, the same
Yeah,
paths, and so on.
okay.
If I'm correct, this is the new way of taking care of the printer.
Mhm.
The old one was that there was a second version of the page. I think it was used mostly for some reports page.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, but if you
but
have
at least like this
Mhm.
link to PDF file, like we saw on,
Yeah.
with results of voting, it's kind of print version as well,
Mhm.
right? So you may be creative sometimes, like extracting data from PDF would be easier, sometimes not.
Mhm.
There are some downsides for using free versions of the
Mhm.
PDF editors.
Sometimes there are versions for mobiles, yes, and some of them use CSS and some of them you have separate HTML code. That might be simpler.
Yeah.
Might be, yeah.
You may also use mobile version, that's
You can
true.
use HTML headers.
Well, on modern websites, there is no different structure for mobiles.
Yeah, for modern website there is a responsive and you have one HTML.
There's like menu and we choose the menu.
Yeah, it's the same story. It's
Okay.
CSS file which changes. It depends on the size of the screen. If the size of the screen changes, the part of the CSS changes, but the structure of the website is still
Okay.
the same.
Okay, cool. So that's a kind of short digression into different methods. Actually, sometimes it's quite useful not only to inspect web page or look for content, but also you may inspect, okay, what's going on here in the network. So you can click, for example, and look, okay, is there any API requests, which is probably not for this website. Quite frequently you can find, okay, this website is using API, and you can find it in this network calls, and instead of scraping whole web page, you can just make API calls and get pieces of the data. That usually works better, but again, you may face API limits, you may disturb site behavior if you query too much, and so on. So be careful with these methods. Yeah, quite frequently you just have to look through lots of kind of unuseful things. That's an example of API requests, but it's for Google Analytics, so it's not for us. So combining all of that, all of I described the goal before, so basically just we are using a list of URLs to all the receipts, parsing each page, and extracting ingredients from each page. So actually it's like 5 lines of code. You just run it, and you see it goes and extract everything one by one. And it will go on and go on. So then you can do with this data something, right? Potentially. You can dump it to CSV, transform it if needed, and so on. So that's the way how you do it, like in a pretty, like, let's say, semi-automated way. So you use beautiful soup for parsing the page, And that's what it's very good for, because it's quite convenient. Because of this parent, children, navigation, find functionality, and so on. Works pretty well. As you see, probably it's already finished for all 120 pages. And potentially we can run it for more, but let's leave it now. And the second thing I want to show you a quick demo how to do the same with Scrappy and what's the difference. So first and very important thing, Scrappy is not parser. Scrappy is a framework. It's because probably you've noticed when you want to scrape something, potentially if you want to scrape another site, we will have to repeat some of the scope again and again, because and lots of the things get pretty standard. So you want to handle exceptions when you fetch documents. You need to handle exceptions when you parse documents. You need to then potentially need to store it somewhere. Then you realize that you have to crawl 1 million web pages, and it's very slow, and you want to start it with multiprocessing. So you want to run multiple threads, and so on and so on. All the tasks are pretty standard, and they repeat all over again. And Scrappy is a kind of answer to that. So it's a framework which gives you all the standard boilerplate, let's say, or engine, and how to automate all these tasks. And you just focus on what kind of data you want to extract. So if you install Scrappy, as I showed before, I just only install Scrappy, don't need to do anything smarter. You can create new projects. So I'll just show an example. Okay. So if you want to start a new project, you just have to type Scrappy start project. Okay, I will show you for all command lines. So it has multiple options. The most interesting for us is the start project, which basically creates a skeleton project for you with some files automatically created, so you have to type less. And probably the second most important command for us is Gen Spider, which is creates a template for a spider to crawl the website, and Run Spider to execute it. The rest is less interesting, but sometimes useful. So settings is to configure it. You can do a bunch of things. You can also deploy it if you want to some cloud-based hosting to run it with cloud. Up to you. It actually automates lots of things. It has lots of plugins and extensions if you want to perform some very complex stuff. I will touch on it a little bit later, but let's demonstrate how you can start your project. So you just type Scrappy start project and some name. That's it. It already gives you a hint what to do next.
Oh, I thought it's done.
So you go into it create a folder for you, which contains two things. Scrappy configuration file, which contains all the options, and demo02, which contains everything else inside. So if you go inside, we can see that it created plenty of Python files already for us, which is items, pipelines, middlewares, settings, and spiders as well. So you may want to create a spider, and here is a very easy example. So you need to give spider a name, which could be, I don't know, my spider 1. And then you need to specify the domain you want to crawl. So why it's important to specify the domain is to automatically create a whitelist for you. So any logic, whatever you will try to crawl from this website, will be checked if this link is from this particular domain, and if not, it will be discarded. Because usually websites contain links to other websites, right? So you may crawl from LinkedIn by mistake. That's kind of limits the thing. So
Everybody wants to be another Google.
yeah. If you want to be another Google, so yeah, you have to remove this license.
Simple as that.
Eventually, because it's using recursion, eventually it will fail anyway. It will go too long, but because Python has limits. So I have created my spider, which is located demo spider, and let's take a look. So if you go to spiders, and it has created this file, my spider.1py, which already has Python code in it. It imports Sharpie, it contains some class template, which already gives data. So then you can basically start coding your spider. I usually work with Python files in PyCharm, and I will show you prepared project, which kind of already with some code implemented. But generally, all this kind of headers, classes are created automatically, so you don't have to create these folder structure files and so on. The main thing, first of all, you need to create your spider and you start from modifying your spider code. So that's my example. So I name it receipts and I'm crawling the same website, which is Anya Starma. And you can see that I specified a particular start URL. So the spider, when it will start, it will start from this particular page. This init function is optional. I have created for my own needs. I'm not sure how you're comfortable with object-oriented programming in Python. Like I really like how you're familiar, right?
Okay.
No. Okay, I'm not familiar.
Okay, so basically, like, object-oriented programming. There are classes and there are objects. Right? Classes are the definition of something, how it should behave. It may contain some properties of variables embedded in the class. Define like what kind of, for example, I'm creating a variable which is saying max pages. It says how many pages I want to crawl maximum. Just because if I started it and crawl for an hour until it will finish, I want to limit it to 1 page, 2 pages for testing, for example. And I have a counter inside, which at the beginning is set to 1, so I crawled in 1 page. And then I increment this counter until it will reach maximum, and then I break. It's just useful. And whenever you start a spider, you can pass these variables into this function, which is init. Init is a special function which is called every time an object is created. And basically you can pass parameters to it. I will show you later how to do it. And the main function is parse. Basically,
But all those are generated.
Init
Just the header.
is not generated, I can edit it, but parse is created automatically.
Alright.
So this function is created automatically, and it looks usually like this. So nothing.
Alright, but at least you have this boilerplate, right?
Yes. So class structure is created, these methods, and you just need to fill what they should be. So here is an example. I'm just using same data I have used in Beautiful Soup example. So I will not show you again how I get all this magic definitions here, but the main approach is totally the same. Yes, and here I'm using XPath. And it looks very close and similar to what we use in Beautiful Soup, but the syntax is different. But XPath syntax is very, very standard. There are lots of tutorials on the internet, how to use it properly, what's the capabilities and so on. So it's very standard. So 2 slashes means any tag in the object below. So all the descendant tags. Then I'm saying I want to look for a div with the class equal to receive. So totally same as we did with the soup. And then navigate down to div, a, and extract href attribute. So if you want to work with an attribute, you specify at symbol. That's a shortcut. That's an XPath syntax. You will learn it. So here I'm doing so. I'm extracting all URLs from a page, right? Some receipts contains this kind of link, so I let it live version because this link is invalid and should not be proceed. For some reason it happens that it has. And so it's very common in Scrappy to all the functions to work as the generators actually. So for each URL that I discovered on a web page, I want to yield another Scrappy request. So what I'm doing here, I'm saying, okay, we made a request to a page, now we found all the links we're interested about, and let's make another request to fetch all these links to us immediately. So I'm passing URL to fetch, and now I'm doing, okay, let's do it this way, doing something interesting. I'm saying, for this new page, I want to use a special function to parse it. And I just create a function below, I'll show you. So here is a function, which is, now it's looking for ingredients on the page, using totally same kind of similar approach to find a list of receipts. And here I'm saying that I want to find all these tags, which contains span, which contains another span inside, and get all the text shaded with it. I mean, it's easier to read some tutorial to get into XPath how to navigate it. And within it, I want to extract for each page we are passing. I want to output list of ingredients. And the second part of the parse function is basically to load next page. So what we are doing, as we were doing in the previous script, we are looking for a next page link, and we are checking if we have reached max page limit. If not, we are basically started to make a request to another page again.
So what would be a stop condition here? If there is no max page, what would you?
Until the list will be empty.
Yeah, what I did, for example, like I was waiting for an exception, like
Yeah,
I mean, at 404 from the request.
Yeah, or maybe here, like you will not find next page link anymore, and it will stop. Basically, this you can get none here. So I'm not checking, but you can get none. So potentially you need to check. So if next page is not known, then you're doing all the stuff.
Alright.
Something like this. Then it will stop when next page is not found anymore. So I believe when you click this button, next page, enough times it will disappear at the end, right? I hope.
Well, actually, you have to get there and see what can happen. And then you have to be proactive.
Great. So that's the way you do it. And here, so in this example, which I'm just showing you, so we have first function, which is parsing catalog and finding all the links, which are making requests for all the links are found. And actually, what Scrappy is doing is maintaining the queue. It has a list of pages to be fetched. It has one queue. And it stores page you want to fetch in function to parse it. And what it actually can do, you can easily modify config and say, I want to download in parallel in 10 threads, and this queue will be processed by 10 threads at the same time until you get banned. Or you can say, I want to use proxy servers, and each request will use different proxy server automatically. So it will allow you to, let's say, have multiple IP addresses, not to get banned quickly.
Is there some sort of a emulate human mode? That it just sends requests like every second? Because you can run it overnight
Yeah.
and just adjust the next day.
It's as easy, this config of Scrappy contains lots of parameters which can emulate human. It also has extensions which are called middlewares, which can do lots of stuff. For example, there is one middleware which can change user agent with every request to some real user agent, but in one case it will be Safari browser on macOS, in another case it will be Internet Explorer on Windows, and so on. So it will try to let you look like a human. You can specify delays. There is a very important rule here. For example, should you obey robots.txt or not? You may say not. It's an option here. You can specify extra headers, and as I said, they could be dynamic even. You may enable cookies if you want. You may perform it concurrently if you want, and specify how you want to do it.
Right, plenty of options.
You can even do authorization, caching, and so on. There is one important thing which Scrappy can do, which potentially very hard with other solutions. You may connect to Selenium driver. So Selenium is a framework used for automation testing for websites. So instead of Python doing requests, you may actually use real browser to make requests, and results from pages from browser will be fetched back to Python for you to parsing. When it's very useful. It's very useful for dynamic pages where content is created by JavaScript. Could be an example of never-ending Facebook timeline. You scroll it and new content appears and appears. So what you can do, you can specify downloader, custom downloader for Scrappy, which will use Selenium with Firefox, for example. And whenever you fetch a URL, you can also pass a small Selenium script, what you should do on the page. Click some buttons, scroll to the bottom, whichever you want. It will do all the stuff and then pass back your page. So then you can use a farm of machines to do so and get new stuff from it.
It's already built in, yes? Or you need some plugin?
It's extension you can install using pip.
That's
There is one, I believe I have it somewhere open. No, I don't.
The only problem with that might be that it's so much slower because Selenium is slow, just like browser or so.
But it will be real browser content if you really
Yeah, it's a trade-off, yes.
Going back to PyCharm. So we have this code, and once you fill these functions, you can go back to the console. Move on. And you just run a command to execute it. So you don't execute it as a script anymore. So instead you do like this. Okay, so that's an example command. You just say Scrappy code, and here I'm using this argument -a, and I'm passing argument to my class. So max pages is 10 times too much, you will use 1 now. And I want to run receipts spider. You might have 10 different spiders, 20 different spiders, up to you. Crawl different pages in your project and so on. There is also extension where you can start the web server and you may just call some API to run the spider. And, like run it in the cloud and you can control it when you call. Or just run it. And you can see lots of data. Scrappy is doing lots of extensive logging, which will help you to diagnose exceptions and so on. By default, using debug level, you can switch it off and just write info and so on. Here you can see that
You can redirect it to the file. Right?
Yeah. Here you can see that we have crawled this receipt Szarlotka, Sylwana, najlepsza.
Have you tried it? Charlotte Savannah.
Yes, of course. And you can see that we have extracted actual ingredients. So 300 grams of flour, 300 grams of kashiman. I don't know how to say it in English. I know what it is, but that's surprising. And so on. What I find challenging here is that I'm getting this array, which is actually should be paired, right? So this two is one item, this two is another one item, and this another one. So why it's like that? And it's because I use some shortcuts, obviously. Okay. When I parse my receipt, I'm just extracting all the text, right? And it's extracting from each tag, it's extracting the text part of it, and as you saw, for each ingredient on the website, we had two tags. One is quantity, and the second is with name of the ingredient. So that's why it's separate elements. And I tried to different these past expressions, and it was quite hard to make it nice with XPath. Therefore, I made the second step, because usually you start from just kind of, okay, we are looking for this simple results. And by the way, I'll just quickly show you. So our results here in the console, they're not very useful, right? But what Scrappy gives to you by kind of almost automatically, you can say, I want to output it to CSV file. Just minus O, run it, and we still got all the logs. But then whenever we go back to the, you can see new CSV file was created, and it contains URL and all the ingredients. Here, it's already extracted to CSV file. Nice. I haven't written any code to create a CSV file. Works okay, but now I want to, let's say, make it more complex parsing. So what is usually happening, whenever you crawl web pages, there are two activities. First, you need to download the page. Next, you need to parse it. Downloading page is not using your CPU at all, so 0. Parsing your web page is usually heavy. It's using your CPU. So if you download all the pages first and then start parsing them, it's not very effective, because while you're downloading, your CPU is doing nothing, and then you start parsing it, and you're just parsing it, and your internet is doing nothing. So what Scrappy is capable to do, it can run these two processes actually in parallel. So because it has downloader, which is separate and working in a queue, keep downloads you, but then you can use so-called item loader to parse your objects at the same time. It's actually doubles performance of the coders usually, because you spend your machine more effectively. So in order to do so, we need to do a little bit more. First of all, in this folder structure of project, there was automatically generated file called items. So in this file, you have to define your item structure. So what kind of data you want to extract. So you define it as a class. You say, I'm going to extract ingredient lists, and this ingredient list will contain two fields. URL, the page was extracted from, which is just usual Scrappy field, an item, a list of items inside. And I use some extra parameters here, but I will cover it later. So whenever you define this, it could be done like this, just a single, like this, for example. So you have a structure of your object, and then within your receipt, you may start using it. So in order to do so, you need to import item loader. and you need to import your recently created ingredient list class. And you can say, I want to load data, and I'm going to use item loader, which is standard scripted loader. You may create your own custom loader, but that's out of scope now, because it's not a complicated topic. And I'm just saying that what kind of items I'm going to load. I'm going to load ingredient lists, and I'm going to load it from the response object. You can sometimes pass extra information needed. What I'm doing here, I'm saying that loader need to add simple value. It's the simplest way. If you just have a value you want to load, and in this case it's response URL. You don't have to do search for it and so on. It's available, just plain value. And then you can specify, and I want to do some XPath later. And you specify what kind of XPath you want to do, and in which attribute it has to store it. And then you can add, like if your object contains many more fields, you can add this XPath, CSS selectors and so on, and it kind of creates a definition what should be done. But it will be actually executed when this by the loader itself, not by your code. So you're delegating the execution of this parsing to external thing.
Can you show the content of ingredients list then just for a moment?
Yeah, on this.
So it's a class just for storing the output of loader, not for actual parsing.
So and now
Okay.
and now you can extend it. For example, you want to do some very complex parsing. So you have extracted part of the object using XPath or something, and you want to manipulate it. Very frequent example, you want to convert data. So you extracted some string data and you want to convert it into a proper format. Or you want to remove some not needed data, clean it a little bit, and so on. So as in my case, I was showing that I got this list which was not very nice. Like I had quantities and ingredients separated to each other. So I want to fix it somehow. So instead of splitting it into separate entities, I will pass whole object which is looking like, I'll show you. So I decided that I will pass all this kind of code. I don't know how to handle it. But basically all this span with nested span, with stacks and closing tag. And what can I do? I can just remove all the HTML tags and I will get 600 grams of char. It's fun. So how can I do it? It's actually quite easy because again, Scrappy is being installed automatically with W3, which contains lots of useful functions. You may read the documentation if you want. But one of the very frequently used is a function called remove tags. It just does what I was saying. And also it comes with some standard processors. I will use join and map compose. So what map compose is doing? So map compose is applying a function to the data you have passed. And it's saying that I want to apply remove tags to the data that will be received by this field. And once this removal tags will happen, I still have a list of ingredients. And I want to make it in one field, right? And then I call second, which is called join. So join, if you have a list, it will join all the things into one string. And you can specify separate, which is optional, you can specify. If you're working with lists, you don't actually need a list, but you need very first object. There is a standard function named take first, which will take very first item from the array. It's also very popular to use.
There's some.
So
No, I understand.
so now, if I have prepared the second function, so I just need to say that instead of get received info per, and we use second version of the function. So run the scraper again. I have to use 102. Okay. That's it wrong. Yeah. So now you can see the data was extracted in a different way. This time it was stored as items in the mirror, and now you can see that it's 6 value, set parameter, 300 grams of sucrose, and so on. So the way I wanted it to be. Maybe it's not the way convenient for analysis, but you get the idea. So you can create your own function which will transform the data in a way you really need. And at the end, we obviously have figured out the receipt.
Looks like JSON more, maybe more.
That's CSV. Now
Yes.
we will speak about Jesus. Okay, one more. I will just give you a very quick one. What's this built again? Scrappy very, very useful for. It's also very useful because of its built-in so-called pipelines functionality. So pipelines are used to extract the data somewhere or push your data somewhere. Very frequent case, push it to the database, for example. Or another use case, store it as a JSON objects, for example. It comes with a set of standard pipelines which are capable to export data as XML, CSV, JSON, pickle, and some weird types as well. But I will just show you how easy or hard it is, how easy it could be. So there is this file pipeline.py, which by default creates this kind of pipeline, which is doing nothing for you, but it's created by default. It's just an example of how pipeline could be. But then you can create your own. So I can use this one, which is basically creates a JSON file in a folder scrape data with spider name, and also using timestamp. So whenever I run my spider, it will create a new file. And basically exporting my data using JSON item exporter, which is standard and comes from Scrappy again. And what I need to do, I just need to go to settings, and I just need to say, I want to run this item pipeline. This JSON pipeline with priority 300. Why it's needed? Because you may run 10 pipelines. You may push your data in one thing, and one thing. You may use different pipelines for different objects. Up to you. So whenever I run my pipeline, it's actually creating this folder scrape data, name of my spider, and each time I run it today, it has created a dump of the objects collected in a JSON format. You can see lots of Unicode inside.
JSON.
Because it's JSON, right? So it does all.
Still, I see all the items are just as one list, right? But that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, each time I run it, obviously.
No, I mean all the ingredients are just one entry, right?
For now,
You
yes.
can do that.
So,
You could do it better.
Once,
Sure. Yeah. Alright.
one alternative.
It's good the way it is.
you can always extend this code, right? And just showing, okay, that's the template, that's how you can start, and that's very important thing. Because usually you actually implement this pipeline to put your data using to Postgres database, for example. Because you will have relationships between objects, you want to store it structurally, most probably. Like in your case, we have, I don't know, different people, we have different votes, we have different topics, right, involved, or we have parties, or may have relationships, or you know, yeah.
It's
Wow.
now
You can have one big like
now
that.
it's very fashionable to explore the relationships and databases.
True, I mean, it depends what you want to do.
I found one format like this, it was JSON lines. So each line is like a JSON. So you have full structure, and you can add, even if you stop, you can come back and add more lines. If you export as JSON, you need to, you cannot add one more line. You need to break. Yeah.
Therefore, I'm using JSON files.
Yeah. Well, with JSON file.
Yeah, you can use
the
JSON
file.
Correct. And it's also standard and it's available here as far as I recall. So you can-
Yeah. Or if you do.
Yeah, just
minus all and.
Just the one.
Yeah.
Or you can do it automatically from command line as a show.
Yeah, like you did with CSR. Yeah.
So, what kind of options?
JL, I think it was minus JL.
Okay, so-
No, minus all, and extension of the file is like minus JL.
Okay. So,
I think so. No, just
Just JL?
JL, yes.
let's try.
It might be, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you see, works. So, I think that's it.
Right. Good
Yeah.
work here.
Will you be talking also about clouds? This scrappy cloud stuff or
No.
not today? Okay. Thanks.